There comes a quiet moment in almost everyone's life when the old version of you starts to feel wrong. Not bad, not broken, just outdated, like a phone that still works but freezes at the worst possible time. You look at your habits, your reaction, your ambitions, even the way you introduce yourself to people, and you realize something unsettling. This identity once protected you, but now it's limiting you. That moment is not a crisis. It's an invitation to reboot who you are, deliberately, consciously, and powerfully. Rebooting your identity doesn't mean pretending to be someone else. It doesn't mean burning your past or rejecting your roots. It means updating the internal operating system that runs your decisions, your confidence, your boundaries, and your self-image. Most people drift through life running an identity they never chose, assembled from childhood labels, social expectations, old failures, and borrowed dreams. The truth is, identity is not discovered. It is designed. And once you understand that, everything changes. The first rule of rebooting your identity is to stop asking, "Who am I?" and start asking, "Who am I becoming?" The first question traps you in the past. The second pulls you into the future. Identity is not static. It is directional. You are not a noun. You are a verb. The moment you define yourself by who you were, you freeze growth. The moment you define yourself by who you are becoming, you unlock momentum. When you wake up every day with a future-oriented identity in mind, your actions begin to align naturally. You don't force discipline, you embody it. The second rule is to detach your identity from your emotions. This is where most people quietly sabotage themselves. They say things like, "I'm an anxious person," "I'm bad at confrontation," or "I'm not confident." These are not personality traits. They are emotional states mistaken for identity. Emotions are weather. Identity is climate. If you build your sense of self around temporary feelings, your entire identity becomes unstable. The reboot happens when you learn to say, "I feel anxious, but I am someone who takes action anyway." That single shift separates those who evolve from those who stay stuck, explaining themselves forever. The third rule is to rewrite the story you tell about your past. Not the facts, but the meaning. Two people that can live with the same experience and form completely different identities from it. One failure becomes proof of incompetence. Another becomes proof of resilience. Your brain is constantly looking for evidence to support the story you repeat. If your internal narrative says you are unlucky, overlooked, or underestimated, your identity will unconsciously defend that version. Rebooting means consciously reframing your past as training, not trauma, as preparation, not punishment. The past doesn't define you, but the meaning you assign to it does. The fourth rule is to upgrade your standards before you upgrade your goals. Goals are external. Standards are internal. Most people fail at change because they chase outcomes without changing the identity underneath. They want more money, better health, deeper relationships, but they keep the same tolerances for chaos, disrespect, and inconsistency. When you reboot your identity, you don't say, "I want better." You say, "I no longer accept worse." Standards are powerful because they require less motivation and more self-respect. Once your standards rise, your behavior follows quietly, almost effortlessly. The fifth rule is to build an identity based on principles, not moods. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline based on mood collapses under pressure, but principles create stability. When you decide at an identity level that you are someone who tells the truth, finishes what they start, respects their body, and honors their word, decisions become simpler. You don't negotiate with yourself every day. You act in alignment because breaking your principles feels like breaking yourself. This is the difference between people who constantly need inspiration and those who move forward even on their worst days. The sixth rule is to practice identity before confidence of source arrives. Confidence is not a prerequisite for change. It is a byproduct of action. Waiting to feel ready is one of the most elegant forms of self-deception. When you reboot your identity, you act as the person you are becoming before it feels natural. You speak differently. You carry yourself differently. You make decisions faster. At first, it feels uncomfortable, even fake. That's not imposter syndrome. That's growth. Identity is shaped through repetition, not affirmation. You don't think your way into a new self. You behave your way into one. The seventh rule is to ruthlessly edit your environment. Identity does not exist in isolation. It is reinforced or weakened by the people you spend time with, the content you consume, and the spaces you inhabit. You cannot reboot your identity while constantly immersing yourself in reminders of your old self. This doesn't mean abandoning everyone or becoming extreme. It means being intentional. What you listen to in the morning, what conversations you tolerate, what behaviors you normalize. Your environment is either voting for your future identity or pulling you back into your past one. There is no neutral. The eighth rule is to stop over-explaining your transformation. This is a subtle but powerful shift. When you reboot your identity, some people will feel uncomfortable. Not because you're wrong, but because your growth highlights their stagnation. The instinct is to justify, explain, or seek permission. Don't. Identity-level change doesn't require consensus. The more you explain, the more you anchor yourself to the old version that needed approval. Quiet consistency is more convincing than any argument. Let your results speak. Let your calm speak. Let your boundaries speak. The ninth rule is to embrace boredom and repetition. This rule is unglamorous, but it's where real identity change happens. The new identity is not built in moments of inspiration. It's built in ordinary days where nothing dramatic happens and you still show up. The same habits, the same routines, the same standards. Over time, boredom becomes proof that the identity is stabilizing. Chaos feels exciting only when your nervous system is addicted to it. Stability feels boring only until you realize how powerful it is. Rebooting your identity means choosing long-term alignment over short-term stimulation. The 10th and final rule is to accept that some versions of you must die for the new one to live. This is the hardest rule because it involves grief. You will outgrow certain roles, relationships, coping mechanisms, and self-images that once kept you safe. Letting them go can feel like betrayal, but it's not. It's evolution. Identity rebooting is not about becoming better in a moral sense. It's about becoming more honest, more intentional, more aligned. Growth requires endings, and endings, while painful, create space for something stronger to emerge. When you step back and look at these rules together, a powerful truth becomes clear. Rebooting your identity is not a single decision. It's a series of small, deliberate choices made consistently over time. It's choosing who you are when no one is watching. It's choosing alignment over comfort. It's choosing responsibility over excuses. And once you begin, there is no going back, because awareness changes everything. You will still have bad days. You will still feel doubt. You will still stumble. But the difference is this: you will no longer confuse temporary setbacks with permanent identity. You will know who you are becoming, and that clarity becomes an anchor that holds you steady in chaos and propels you forward in uncertainty. If you feel that quiet discomfort with your current self, don't silence it. Listen. That feeling is not weakness. It's readiness. It's the signal that the old operating system has done its job, and it's time for an upgrade. You don't need permission. You don't need a dramatic breakdown. You need a decision. So here's the call to action. Decide today, consciously and unapologetically, who you are becoming in the next chapter of your life. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Act on it before you feel ready. And then protect that identity with your choices every single day. Because the most powerful reboot you will ever experience is not of your phone, your career, or your circumstances. It's of you.